In part 4, Steven shows us why it's not how many times you get knocked down, but rather how many times you keep moving forward. How the heck do you dig yourself out of, can't pay insurance bills, have no money, have no license? Now what the hell are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I immersed myself into trying to be an EMT firefighter.
It was it.
At the time. And so I didn't want to keep going to my grandma and saying, hey, Grandma, we need some money. You know, my dad didn't have any money. He had just lost his business, right? So he's trying to regroup himself.
That's a whole other story.
Yeah, it is.
I know.
And so I couldn't go to him, and my wife's parents, I would never ask him. Never. I had too much pride to ask him for any money. And so I started going to this EMT school, and I get all the way through the school, and they say, hey, we're going to send you out on an ambulance. And we're going to get you some real training on the ambulance. Mm-hmm. And so the ambulance, we go out for the first day, and we treat this guy that has a broken arm and a bone sticking out. And I was like, oh, man, I don't know if I could really,
yes.
You know, that's intense, sticking out. And I'm like, so then the next day, they're like, all right, well, you go to the emergency room the next day. So we go to the emergency room. And there's all these sick people coming in, and there's this old lady that get rushed in, and they asked me to do CPR on her, and she dies. And she was old, though. And I was like, well, she had a good life. You know, she was older.
But still, from broken arms,
yeah.
The lady passes away.
Yeah, the lady passes away. And they had me, like, doing the compressions on her. And I was out of my league. I wasn't ready for this. And then the next day they said, all right, you're gonna ride around on this ambulance in Lake City, Florida. I said, okay. Cool. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. So we're at the firehouse, and we get a call that there was a child drowning. And you know, I can't get into any specifics because of the HIPAA laws and things like that, but this little girl had lost her life, and it was up to me and my partner to revive her.
How old are we talking?
We're talking about a 4-year-old.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So you show up to the scene.
So we show up to the scene. We get the kid out of the water. We try to do everything we can. And there's helicopters swirling around our thing. And the baby just didn't make it. And all I could think about was my 3 kids at home. Mm-hmm. That's all I could think about. And I went, and I was so like devastated of what had happened that all I wanted to do was just go home, and I didn't ever want to go back to being an EMT again.
So what do you? I mean, you don't recover from something like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you decide
I was done.
Yeah.
I was done.
But quickly you have to go back to reality, unfortunately, which is the reality of the financial and family, and
yeah.
You've been pursuing something that your family had given you money for.
Yeah.
I mean, how the hell? I mean,
my grandma thought I was going to be a firefighter.
That's right. I mean, that's what the money had gone for.
Yeah, I know.
So you're back to the situation where you were, but also you've got. Obviously, I know it's weighed on you heavy. Still today, you think about that the situation with the little girl.
Yeah.
But still in that situation, where do you go? I mean, how you can't get a license because you don't have enough experience because the person you got the license from has been removed. Do you stick in roofing at that point?
Well, I always got my finger on the storms that were going on at the time.
You got that itch in you.
Yeah, and so now I know that I'm not going to be a firefighter, and so I said, well, maybe I could start a website and I could sell roofing leads in the areas that got hit by the hailstorms. So I ended up starting a lead company for a big hailstorm that had hit Oklahoma City.
Got it.
And I had this telemarketing machine that would call all these people. It was an automated machine, and whenever they picked up, they'd say, press 1 if you need a roofing estimate, and they would, so I would get all these leads, and I was selling them to roofing contractors. And so I did that business for about 1 or 2 months, and we ended up getting a lot of clients. I sold a lot of leads. Mm-hmm. I sold a lot of lead packages, I could say. And what ended up happening was that the contractors would come back and say, hey, this lead didn't work out, I need a refund. and I didn't like dealing with that side of things. And so we ended up, my wife and I had closed down that lead company. It was too much trouble. And I came to her and I said, listen, I said, Serena, I said, I need to go back to roofing. I said, I can't do firefighting. I can't do this lead thing. We need to do something. I said, I got to go to Oklahoma City. So she's like, how are you going to go to Oklahoma City? You don't have any money. You're broke.
Well,
I'm like, I know one thing we can do.
Not kidding, yeah.
Yeah.
And you did it. I can't believe you actually did this.
Yeah. I went to my wife and I asked her to give me her wedding ring. And I said, I need this money so that I can go make money with. So I went to Lake City. My wife gives me her ring that I had spent, I don't know, $6,000-$7,000 on back when we had money coming in, and I take it to a pawn shop. And I'm like completely broke. I have nothing to do. It's like, what am I going to do? So he gives me $1,000 for the ring. And I go home and I'm like, honey, I got the $1,000. I'm going to Oklahoma to make some money.
Yeah.
So by this time, my truck's in foreclosure. The banks are looking for my truck. I have a $800 payment that I hadn't been making. And so I take my truck. Stephen Douglas heads out into the sunset. Got 3 babies at home.
Wife without a wedding ring.
My wife without a wedding ring, and she's like, she just supports me.
And $1,000 to your name.
$1,000 in my pocket.
I mean, I laugh about it, man.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
$1,000 in my pocket, right? So I drive all the way out to Oklahoma, and I get out there, and the roofing business is booming.
Oh, I'm good. I'm glad to hear that. Finally a break here, man. I was like, where are we going to go with that shit?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Yeah. So I ended up, selling roofs and getting caught up on some payments and some bills and stuff like that.
Sending money back home.
Sending money to my wife, sending rent, getting some bills paid, right? They have been piling up for months at this time. So I'm roofing out there, and I'm not able to come home because it's so far away. Right, Oklahoma to Florida. I mean, I'm not driving home on the weekends anymore. I'm not 8 hours away.
Yep.
So I'm spending a lot of time away from home at this time. And so, I just grinding in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Just selling roofs for another roofer. Got some relationships. I'm running a crew, and I'm selling, and I'm doing well. And at that time, things started to, where I felt like things were going well.
Okay. First time in a while.
Yeah, there was a lot, and I was back in the roofing, and I was happy. I wasn't happy that I was away from my family, but at this time I had to do what I had to do to make a living.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And